Hi everyone. Today we talk about geography IGCSE. We had a population settlement. Let us start with the PowerPoint presentation that I made for the lesson. Here it is. Now we start with population settlement. Today, if we can finish the lesson, we finish at 2 parts or 3 parts as what we need. So today, population settlement will be our lesson as it is the first chapter in IGCSE. And we talk about population dynamics, the first part of this unit, in the first chapter of this unit. Here we need to highlight some things, but by the pen. Here the first that we talk about so today, as I said, we talk about population settlement with population dynamics. First part of the lesson, the population. So population increase, the world population is increasing by approximately 80 million people a year, which means that increase 80 million, around 80 million, mean less than 80 million, higher than, greater than 80 million. Mean very near to 80 million people a year. Mean 80 million people a year. So the world population increasing by approximately 80 million a year. So that is important because when we say that from 1004 world population was 1 billion. Mean what was the population growth at that time? It was steady and low. There are some notes that we can summarize the lesson by it. Can summarize the lesson. But by small points, we can make the lesson shorter and easily to be read and understand. We can be read and understood by the people or by the students. So as I said, firstly, so the world population was by approximately mean near to 80 million. So it is increasing to be near to 80 million people a year. So in 1004, okay, let us compare as that we are. In 1004, there was 1 billion. So population growth was steady and low. But then then 100 years for population to double to 2 billion. So 1 minute only. Wait, that is all. Then let us go with the pen. So firstly, nearly 80 million people a year is increasing. So the world population mean from, let us give an example. It is not real, but it is all an example. Mean from 2022, for example, 2022 to 2023. I said an example. There is an 80 million people a year, mean maybe less than from 80 million or greater than 80 million. I mean, it is near to 80 million, not so far. But so we said okay, so the world so the world population I will use now. 1 minute, we need to erase something here. Erase very quickly. So now we will use the only for now. So we say the world pollution. Now let us go out from here. We need to complete what we can from the lesson. So here we say the world. 1 minute. Okay, now. Now I need to share a whiteboard, okay? Now, so we said here, need to take that out, bit up there. This is up here. Now, here, oh, no. So now, world pollution So now, finish, no need for the right. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back here. So we said here the world population is increasing by approximately 8 million people a year. Then in 1004, world population was 1 billion. Okay, so now population growth was steady and low. So it then took just over 100 years, in a century, all effort population to double. Here it took it just took tick took it, it then took just over 100 years for the population to double 2 billion only. So now, when I say here, then there is some things that are important here. This is a graph. We need to understand it well. Here I mean. So now, we will say where is an projection from 1099 to 2012, which is projection. But from it now, so here 1803, it is when the people reach how much 1 billion, meaning from 0 years to 140, and it exceeded the 140 also. But here from 1003 1 to 2000, 1927 is 124 years, which means that double. So 240 years, all of the human history up to 1803, mean from start of the human, from the creation of the human until 1803, the population was 1 billion. It didn't exceed, sometimes it was 50 million, then 60 million. It start to grow until it reached 100 billion at 1803. But from 1803 to 1927, 124 years only, it doubled what was the population 1803. But in 33 years, 127 until 120, 160, doubled, 23 million. After 15 years, from 1960 to 1975, it became from a billion, then 5 billion, 6 billion. From 7 to 11, it is all projection. What the scientists or what the geologists want, the geographers projection for the population of the world. That is all. We are from 2011 to 2024. Why? Because we are in as we are in 2022. Let us see what is here. Okay, so 2022. So we are within the 8 billion projection. That is all in this slide. Mean you need to understand the graph and what it is say. Mean we need to know how the time, the years, only for your knowledge. Maybe in the IGC exam, it may ask, but I don't know as I didn't see the question yet for that. Now, here is a graph description. Now, written description, but in another way, which is harder than the graph itself. Okay, so now, something that is important, we will underline it. So the increase after 1030 was then more rapid. See. Where is 1030 here? Let us see. Let's say that it is 1930. Okay. So it was so rapid for 1060. 33 years it took only to be let us say 30 years to be 3 million. Then 15, 12, 12, 12, 13, 14, 18, 32. I mean, not so much time. It is so less to compare it with the first two. First two. The first one take millions of years. The second one take a century and 24 years, 124 years. That's all. So in 1930, it increases. There was increases in the pollution. What this led to a population explosion. So this increase in the population led to an explode. There is many pollution explosion. I mean, there is no place, there is place, but it is so polluted now. And there is more pollution. So pollution explosion, it is very important to understand. So I hope that I discussed population explosion very well. So now let us repeat it very fast. So now, led to a population explosion, mean a rapid of increase after 1930 was then more rapid and led to a pollution. So it led to a pollution. So the fastest when there is a population happen, when the fastest increase in population happened during 1980s and 1990s. Let us see. It is 18, 12 years, 5 billion. Here also, let's say that 2000, until 2000, people became 5 billion. 2000 mean from 2000 to 1080, 20 years. 20 years, people start to be 5 billion, 6 billion. So this is a number. So here, as I said, that is a graph, and here is a description we need to understand. Now, the population growth rate means is the average annual change of the population size during a set period of time, usually a year. So they need, this is important. Okay, now so now to know, so now an average annual change let us say, for example, 2020, for example. I said 2022. Here it is an example. It's under 1. So the growth rate, annual average annual change is under 1. So let us say like that. It is under 1. So it will be so less. It will be lesser than the annual change in 1070, which is 2%. This point is important. This point is important. Then third one, population is still increasing, but at a slower rate. Mean, here as you say, in 1970, what was 2%? Now under 1, so it is increasing but at a slower rate. Mean in 2022 it is increasing but not at the at 1000 at when 1970 and the growth rate was 2. So the 2% was higher than the 1, which means that it's important that to know this point that I think we highlighted or underlined. Okay, so now let us repeat very fast. First, in 1093, 1930, the pollution increases was more rapid. It increased so much. So this led to a population explosion. So there was a fast increase. There was a fast increase in between 1980, 1990. Between these two, there was so fastest increase. Mean the period oh I forget that. The period now the years or the period of time that happened for the fastest increase of population was between 1980 and 1980s and 1919. Now, but in 2100, mean maybe after 78 years, after 78 years, the UN, United Nations, that the population, they predict that the population will increase to reach around 11, near to 11, around here as near. Okay, so predicted by the UN. This is important. Now let us, so here, so let us repeat this slide very fast. I hope that you understand the first three. First two, now population growth rate. I didn't discuss it very well. Let us discuss it now to understand. So population growth rate, now average annual change, mean this 1%, this 1% that I put under 1% under a period of time. So with a period of time, mean for a year, for example, they use here a year. They don't use so much years. A year, 2 years, like that. But let us go with usually a year. Mean especially they use a year. Okay, so there's a point. Mean it is increasing. The population Pollution is increasing, but for example, it was 10 million. I say an example, or billion. Billion, okay? And slow rate, for a rate, a slower rate, mean to need time maybe to reach. So now, from 10 billion to 11 billion, I say an example only to understand. So maybe it need 2%. That is for example, 2 years. Oh, 2 years, because I don't have any space. I try to discuss everything in the slide itself, so we can understand it very well, as we can go back to the point, discuss the point, and discuss it as an example, so we can understand it in all the ways, in all the directions. For as an example, as it is written, graph, everything. If you want, you can get it in say my exams, and I try to put it in the comments if I can. But you can get it from say my exams. This presentation, no problem. And there will be revision notes, typical question, but there is no typical question for past papers until now. But there is for biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, core extended, and the other all. There is no. Till now, maybe it will be, but now there is. But they predict now. We say for 2 years. Let's go back here. Here we need what we put for 2 years. 2 years, for example, from 10 to 11. We say 2 years. For example, I said all and for example for the pollution growth rate. So here take time. So here takes time. So now let us go back to what we discussed. So in 2100, in after 78 years, okay, the United Nations predict that the population will be 11 billion. Now we go to exam table. Let us clear all this. So in the exam in May, Now let us go back to the exam tip. So they here say if there is an example, there is no option for that. But here, an example, say to you the point you need to follow if there is any question that may describe the population change on a graph. For example, like that. For example, we say you start to say it is increasing, it's the same. How is that? Okay, so they say that what is the main trend? First point, you need to know the main trend. If it is increasing, decreasing, or staying the same. For example, here we say, let's make a small one. For example, all I say. Here it is, 1. Let's say like that. It is, for example. So here, for example, we have this line. It is trade. It is thing about the same. Mean there's nothing. See, it is increasing, decreasing. For example, it is like that. We say here, in a point, it increase until, for example, that point staying the same, then it increase. So it is important to know the main trend. So now, has a change been rapid or slow? Mean, for example, is rapid or slow? We need to describe. I mean, if it was as we draw, it will be slow. Then it will be slow. How have change occurred during specific times? I mean, the changes occurs about what specific time. Then, are there any animals, animals? Mean there is standard, there is so important things or standard things in the graph, and you need to use. Mean if you say here 1, 2, for example, I am all for an examples only. Then it's an example like that, for example. So here we need to take an exam, a figure of any figures in the graph, like that, for example. It is because I draw it without using the lines. I forget, didn't press quickly and properly. I hope that you understand the exam tip. So you need to follow 5 points. I mean, if it come as this question, maybe 7 points, you need to describe 1 point and other than that. They say to you, define, for example, define something, and then they give you a graph, so the total be 7 marks. Now, you need to go furthermore. You need to go. I will take that the exam tip after that will be the end of our session. Here is a graph, because it's a graph. We need that to discuss this graph. So the size of the world population over the last 12,000 years. over 12,000 years. Firstly, in 10,000 BC, mean uh, in 10,000 BC, what was the population of people? It was 4 billion, mean it was in a straight, then start to increase until the average growth, I am sorry for that, rate from 10,000 BC to 1,700 was just 0.04. Mean there here, it give us the population growth rate. Let's say annual average rate, let us go back very fast only to that. Here it is. An average annual change, I am sorry, average annual change with a bit of time pollution such an year. So here it give us per year. So it increased maybe little bit, but in the year zero, it reached 200 million, 200 million in the year zero, 190, no problem with that. Then start increasing. Okay. Until it reached 600 million, 1,000. Oh, so it reached 1 billion and 1,900, and it increases than 1 billion, increase than 1 billion, then 2 billion after 28 years, if you see, mean only, then 3 million, 4 million, 5, 6, 7, until now, 7 billion. Let's say that it is 8. There is nothing that different. But now, global life expectancy before 1,800 was less than 30 years. So the global life was very less than 4, mean everything before 1,800, the expectancy of the life was that less than 30 years. In global life expectancy in the pollution was less than 30 years. Means here, if you see 600 to 990, it is 390 million. And how much? In a century. Example, global life expectancy in 2019, 73 years. So here, the 73 years, if you see, let us count, for example. Now, firstly, let us count 20. Now, we can use a calculator somehow if there is any calculation in geography, but I don't think that there is any calculation, but let us complete. Now, 199 minus, this is right here as I don't want to forget. $15. So there is 73 years. Here's an important point. Here in the mid 14th century, the Black Death pandemic killed between a quarter and a half of the people in Europe. I mean, in the 14th century, I take a lesson about it. Maybe I will make a presentation and I will come and discuss it, as it is very hard and it kills many people. They say here, half the people, it was so hard, as they didn't know how they can have the people save them. There was another ways. Black Death, it is the same plague. Now this is the last. Population increase is not the same as population growth rate. I mean, if someone said to you, population increase is not as the population growth rate, it's not the same. It is an exam tip. Sometimes they bring it or sometimes no. The population can increase at different rates. That is the last thing we need to discuss today. Oh. There are different rates for the increasing of the population, but the rate at which the population at which it is increasing is known as the population growth rate. So population increase is not the same as population growth rate. So what the second thing is, population can increase at different rate. Thirdly, population growth rate, it is the rate at which it is increasing is known as the population growth rate. And for now, I will say goodbye, and please don't forget to subscribe for my channel, put like, and put the all notifications as it, so you can see any new video when it is downloaded.